A lot of manufacturers are either one of two things. Typically, they're an OEM, original equipment manufacturer, where they manufacture a finished good or a widget of some type. A lot of manufacturers don't have a proprietary good or a proprietary product or a finished good. They make a part that goes into something, okay? So that whole e-commerce thing, if you're an original equipment manufacturer, you have that finished good, it's a lot easier. Hey, I manufacture, phones, a pen, my book, these things on my desk here. And I'm just going to put them on e-commerce. I'm going to put them on Amazon, or I'm going to go on Shopify and put them on a website, right? For the custom manufacturer, they felt left out of the e-commerce party. And so there's a lot of opportunities.
Curt Anderson is the founder and CEO of B2Btail, a consulting firm that helps awesome companies achieve manufacturing e-commerce success. He is the author of the book, Stopping the Best Kept Secret, and the co-host of Manufacturing E-commerce Success, a live LinkedIn show that airs Monday and Friday at 12:32 Eastern. Curt is someone who just radiates positive energy. He supports everyone, and he wants them to be successful in their roles no matter what they are. I know it's going to be a really energizing episode, and I am so excited to welcome him to the show. So, Curt, welcome to Prospecting on Purpose.
Man, Sarah, thank you. What an honor, privilege. I couldn't even sleep last night. I was so excited to be on your show. So thank you for this wonderful opportunity.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you. And I know, because I've been a guest on your LinkedIn Live show, that you end all of the interviews with an icebreaker question. So I'm going to just start off our interview by asking your question back to you. So sure. I'm going to ask you, Curt, do you like baseball?
Just a little bit. As a matter of fact, I have this book right here that covers baseball. Right, I'm a huge baseball fan. So yes, Sarah, I love baseball.
Okay, who's your favorite team?
I hope nobody. I'm a Yankee fan. Yankee fan. So
you're based in New York. Okay, so let's say that you are a professional Yankee. You're playing for the Yankees. It's a tied game against a big Yankee competitor, the Red Sox. Is that one?
Good choice.
Okay, yep. Cool. I had to practice this. Okay, so it's the bottom of the ninth. You're tied with the Red Sox. The score is tied. The bases are loaded. You're walking up to bat. What is your walk-up song?
Oh, what's my walk-up song? I need something like just really fires me up. Just really Baby Shark. I'm going to go with Baby Shark.
Oh my God. I don't think I've told you this. That is I swear to God, before I have to do heavy negotiations, I listen to the Baby Shark song and I dance around.
That's your song? Who doesn't get fired up over Baby Shark? Goodness gracious.
Oh my God. We're going to have to hold a separate episode. I have one on a negotiation coming up, and that is one of my little hacks just to loosen my own mood. Okay. Baby Shark, you got the whole crowd bumping. They're doing the dance.
So quick side note, my daughter, so I've been to every Major League Baseball stadium.
Oh, whoa.
So when my daughter was born, I'm doing it with her. We have 2 stadiums left at the time of this recording. And so baseball season is not going on right now. 2 stadiums left. And when she was a little girl, when Baby Shark first came out, she'd gone away to camp and she came home, and I had never heard Baby Shark before. And I don't remember how old she was. She did the whole Baby Shark thing. So Baby Shark holds a dear place in my heart for my daughter in baseball. So I got to go with Baby Shark. So.
Oh my gosh. Okay, maybe that's why we get along so well. We're Baby Shark fans.
We're Baby Shark fans.
and for all the parents that are triggered listening to this, we're sorry.
Everybody has PTSD from Baby Shark, right?
I know. Well, I want to get into your book because I know you have a very particular niche, which I'm going to ask you to define, but your book had so many good takeaways just from a mindset, from a business basic practices. So I know that you're pretty focused in manufacturing e-commerce, but to any and all of our listeners, you got to stay and listen to all of the things we're going to dive into in the book, because I kind of had to look at a mirror in a hard way going through the book. So we're going to get into the book. But before we do, just to orient everyone, can you define what you mean when you say manufacturing and define what you mean when you say e-commerce?
Yeah, great question. So I got into e-commerce 100 years ago. It was 1995. And so it was early, scary. What is this whole thing? And so, it was very challenging back then. And so fast forward, I was very fortunate and blessed. We built that company up. I sold it. and I was looking for a business to get into, and I was targeting a lot of manufacturers. I wanted to find like the widget expert, because I was like, boy, maybe I could strike lightning again and help a company that, hey, we're experts at selling this widget thing, but I don't understand this whole e-commerce thing. Well, as I was knocking on doors for a lot of manufacturers, they're like, what is this e-commerce thing? What is this e-commerce thing? And how does it work? And so I started discovering, like, boy, these people really need help. So to marry address your question specifically, goes like this. A lot of manufacturers are either one of two things. Typically, they're an OEM, original equipment manufacturer, where they manufacture a finished good or a widget of some type. A lot of manufacturers don't have a proprietary good or a proprietary product or a finished good. They make a part that goes into something. Okay. So that whole e-commerce thing, if you're an original equipment manufacturer, you have that finished good, it's a lot easier. Hey, I manufacture, phones, a pen, my book, these things on my desk here. And I'm just going to put them on e-commerce. I'm going to put them on Amazon, or I'm going to go on Shopify and put them on a website, right? For the custom manufacturer, they felt left out of the e-commerce party. And so there's a lot of opportunities where like they're like, oh, well, I don't have a finished good that I'm going to put on e-commerce. There's a lot more to it than just what we think of traditionally, like pull out the credit card and hit the buy button. So maybe an RFQ, a request for quote from another company, or maybe there's a thing called like a configurator where like I can make my own product. So without getting super deep, there's a lot of opportunity in that B2B space. It's massive. So I feel like where B2B e-commerce is today is where like, business to consumer e-commerce was like 20 years ago.
Got it.
It's just getting started. So that's kind of my answer for that.
Is that where the origin story B2Btail comes from, your company name?
Very good, Sarah. So I was trying to, what I did? There's a website called Naming Force, and I couldn't come up with a good name for my business. And this is before Chat GPT and AI and all this, because now today you could just go on AI and come up with a name, but I couldn't come up with a good name. So what it is, it's like a crowdsource thing. We're like, hey guys, I'm going to do this business, and it's B2B and it's e-commerce consulting, blah, blah, blah. And I got like 1,000 names. And I narrowed it down to like 3 or 4. And I really like B2Btail. It's a play on words for retail and B2B. And so that's where I came up with, so shamelessly, I didn't create it. Somebody did it for me. So,
hey, whatever. That's one of your tips for overcoming change, is outsource your support. I think that's awesome. Exactly. And they did a great job. And I think it's exciting to talk to you, because you have had to really change the mindset of a lot of traditional business models. And I don't want to assume, but I would assume that was probably one of your biggest objections when getting into this space in 1995.
Yeah. Well, great question. I was young at the time, and I got into it. So truth be told, here we go. Sarah, are you sitting down for this one? You ready? Okay.
Seated.
I had a wholesale business, and I was an absolute train wreck. My accountant, and this is a gospel true story, my accountant said I was the biggest disaster that she had ever met. Oh. And so it was not, I was not a good business person. This e-commerce thing came out in 1995. So for someone like you, or a lot of folks are like 1995, I'm not sure how old you were at that time, but I was in my 20s, and I'm running out of options. And at the time, there was a company called America Online, and they were sending out like these little discs of like getting people on the internet. That's how long ago it was, right? And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, out of like pure desperation, out of pure, like, I don't know what else to do, I'm going to try this internet thing. Maybe there's something to this e-commerce, which in 1995 was pretty risky, right? Pretty daring. And so that it was so I'll take no credit other than it was out of desperation to get into e-commerce in 1995.
I just thought that would be a really interesting icebreaker to start asking people, like, what was the first purchase you did on the internet?
That's a great idea.
Yeah, because my Uncle Andy, hi Uncle Andy, he listens to the show, but he was very cool and like on the forward trends on gift giving. And I remember for Christmas one year, probably in 1995, we got gift cards to Amazon when Amazon just sold books and CDs and movies. And I bought Toy Story on VHS. And that was my first internet purchase.
That was your first purchase. That's a great question. Do
you remember yours?
Oh my goodness. You know what's funny is I almost feel like I bought a computer from a company called Gateway. I don't know if you
Oh
remember the
yeah, yeah.
Gateway computer. They came in those big giant cow boxes. I think I might have bought a computer. It might have been one of my first purchases in the 90s.
Oh, cool. Okay, so you weren't afraid to like buy things on the internet. And I think in your book, one of the things that's kind of cool is your case studies. You talk about getting these companies online and then 40K order, $400,000 order from different parts of the world. Like it really does crack open access to all of your customer base if you can get that online presence.
Completely. I mean, it just, and again, if you're a traditional, whether retail, wholesale, manufacturer, whatever, wherever you're at in that vertical, it doesn't matter. And now, the stage where we are, it's just, what is the absolute first thing somebody's going to do is go online,
Right.
All the risk is like from 20 years ago,
Right.
like all those people figured out all the risk and like Google ads or how to be found on your website, that type of thing, all that risk, not to say that there isn't risk, but it's just, the risk is so much lower than like, the overhead, paying for rent, paying for infrastructure, paying for, so the thing is why I love like with manufacturers, it's putting up a website. It's putting up a web page, take some product and put it out there. And so that's, I feel like e-commerce, a lot of people are like, hey, let's research and ask questions and study. And I'm sure that works great. For me, e-commerce, it's just like we're talking baseball and sports. Just get in the field, just get in the game, just put yourself out there. The market will tell you whether you have a good idea or not. Just put yourself out there.
Yeah.
Right.
I like that a lot. And so then let's talk about your book a little bit. What does it mean to stop being the best kept secret? What does that mean?
Great question. So, after I sold my e-commerce business, I was looking for a business to buy. I could write a book on how to not buy a business, Sarah, because I was a disaster at that as well. I was like knocking on all these doors, trying to find a business to buy. I'm like, hey, could I find a traditional company, as I was saying earlier, and marry that with like a little e-commerce? And as I kept talking to people, I was targeting manufacturers. I'd be like, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Manufacturer, tell me about your business. And like over and over consistently, they're like, oh, we're the best kept secret. We're the best kept secret. We're the best kept secret. And I'm like, finally, I don't think that's a great marketing strategy. I don't think you should be the best kept secret. And there's another great line that says, closed mouths don't get fed. Closed mouths don't get fed. So the thing is, if you take pride, maybe like pre-internet days, you took pride in because there was word of mouth, or maybe you went to a trade show, or however you drummed up business at that time. Life is just completely different. It's completely different. And just, I don't care who the company is, unless like you've found this like golden monopoly, little tiny niche that nobody knows about, you really can't be the best kept secret. So that's where the name came from. Let's stop being the best kept secret.
I like that a lot. And you, in your book, you would mention that certain people would almost wear it as a badge of honor to resist change. I kind of think that we all do that in different ways. Like I was chatting with a potential client the other day, and we were talking about how to get to high profile decision makers. And I didn't ever have a really fancy schmancy title, but I could always get to the top guy because I know how to build relationships. And I mentioned that, and the person said, yeah, people use not having a title as an excuse why they can't do their jobs. Like, oh, I can't get to that high profile person because I don't have a director title. I don't have a VP title. And I thought that was such an interesting, like it reminded me of the line in your book. It's like we wear certain things as a badge of honor to resist change or to not try something.
Right. Well, and if I can take a little detour, I want to give you credit because you were on our show. So I have a little live show, as you mentioned, and you came on as a guest. We were connected through a mutual friend, Tony, and you came on the show, and dude, it was a blockbuster. You are just such a power. You and I had a couple one-on-one calls, and I was just instantly, and I very, very rarely ever do this. I call it like when you do that first meet and greet coffee date, if you will. And I asked you to come on our live show, if you recall, the first time that you and I was just so captivated, so blown away. You came on the show and you gave so many powerful golden nuggets. Our show has a chat box, and our chat box was on fire that day. And you gave me a tip about going to trade shows. And I shamelessly borrowed it, stole it, whatever you want to call it. And what I did is there was a trade show, that big manufacturing show that we were going to, and it was in Buffalo, New York. And all these people were sending out emails ahead of time. Hey, stop by our booth, stop and see us, stop and do this, I'm like, okay, what could I do different thanks to my friend Sarah.
Mhm.
I sent out a guide of what to do in Buffalo, of like,
Ooh.
go to Niagara Falls, where the best place to get chicken wings, the best place to get, buffalo beef on wick. And like, so I sent like a whole thing, and I'm telling you, it was a home run. I can't tell you, the people that were running the conference came up to me and thanked me. People, I said, you must go to Niagara Falls. A group of us are going on this day at this time. They thought like I was organizing or coordinating like a bus or something, but I became like Mr. Popular, all because of you and an idea that you shared. So again, like, talk about that change. At my age, at my stage, you got me out of my comfort zone. You got me thinking differently. And I thank you. I commend you. I applaud you, because it was a total home run. And did I get any business out of it? I don't, but it was just all about the relationships that you helped me build. And it's exactly what you preach with your show here. So
Well,
thank you.
I am so honored for that feedback, and I'm going to give you one of these. This is an app called a ham horn, rap air horn.
I love it.
Thank you for that, Curt, because I think one of the things that I've noticed, especially as we're talking about change, is when I started my business, I was a little fearful, like, oh, I'm younger than someone. Oh, I haven't been in the industry as long. But I think one of the biggest takeaways is that if we have an open mind and an open heart to always be learning, we can always learn stuff and try new things. I love that story, because that's like the epitome of ABAV, always be adding value, because it gets responses, because you're not asking for anything, especially from people you don't know. So thank you for sharing that.
At this trade show, it's states are represented. Okay. So all these different states were coming up to me, people that I've never met, people that I couldn't get a door open to, Louisiana, Arizona. I'd be at a restaurant and like the whole crowd from Arizona was there. And now also, like, I was Mr. Popular again, just because like a little tip and golden nugget that you shared of like, how can you deliver value with no expectation?
Right.
And it was I could go on and on and on about it, but I can't. And I give you 100% credit for that idea.
Oh, thank you, Curt. I got reconnected with a former colleague who actually was kind of a competitor, like a friendly competitor, like what do you call those? A frenemy. He's such a nice guy. Such a nice guy though. But I actually think that there's power in having good relationships with your competition, because there's enough opportunity for everyone. But he saw me on the show. He watches your show, and we reconnected the other day, and he goes, I watch that show every Friday. And all of a sudden I'm like, I know her. So we're looking at ways to work together too. And that has been very fun. And I think even how you and I met is just through connections, through talking to each other, through showing up on different LinkedIn lives or, networking groups. I've been meeting so many people throughout this 2023 year. It's been very rewarding. I'm so happy we met.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been fast, instant friends, and I appreciate you more than you know. So,
well, we have the baby shark, kindred spirit.
That's right.
So let me ask you, one of the things in your book that really was kind of like a hard look in the mirror for myself and my own business was this concept of a webpression. Webpression. Can you give us the definition of what that is?
Absolutely. So I came up, so I do like training and webinars, and that's kind of my shtick and my jam, if you will. And so we call it edutainment.
Ooh.
Who wants boring, stuffy? And so like I book a lot of speakers, and we always kid around. I'm like, man, no death by PowerPoint. If you have a slide that people have to read and a bunch of bullet points, nothing personal, you're not allowed to play in the sandbox. Like it's got to be fun. It's got to be education, high value. And that's, I think, why you and I connect so well. It's just, you just have an incredible sense of humor. But what I found is people like, if I come into e-commerce and I'm a digital immigrant, I'm in my 50s. And so if you're born before 1980, you're a digital immigrant. And so that's who a lot of manufacturers are. That's who I'm targeting. Right. So what I try to do is like, I'm not trying to talk to them like they're in third grade. I'm trying to talk to them like they're in their 50s, or Gen Xers, baby boomers. So I'm trying to talk to them at their level and meet them where they are. So we make a lot of these fun, catchy terms, so it's like, who's your ideal buyer? That buyer persona, the ICP, all the avatar. What we call them in my favorite, so I appreciate you plugging my book. I call it my mom's favorite book. You know what we call it? My mom's favorite book. Who's your soulmate?
Mm.
Who is that your ideal buyer? Who's your soulmate? And I can't tell you, like, some of the most roughest, toughest guys in manufacturing. They're like, hey, Curt, our soulmate is such and such, this engineer, this buyer. So it's like, how do you connect with your soulmate? Who is your soulmate? How do you help your soulmate? How you help your soulmate is you want to make a great first web impression.
Mm-hmm.
You have one chance to make a good first impression. And today in this world, it's not face to face. It's probably not in person. It's on your website. It's on your social. It's on your LinkedIn. It's on your YouTube channel. If you don't have LinkedIn, if you don't have YouTube, you've made even worse than a bad impression or bad web impression. You've made no web impression, and they're going to your competitors.
Mm-hmm.
So what I love to say is, like, you've got to know who your ideal customer is, aka who's that soulmate that, like, has a problem right now that needs your solution, your product, your service right this minute. And when they land on that website, man, or your social, we want to capture them at hello. How do you make that great first web impression? And what you preach is trust. Mm-hmm. We've got, like, instantly, how can we resonate that trust as fast as possible? So that's the whole backstory of, like, how do you make a great first web impression?
And for the website, one of the biggest things that I am aware of, but I think I need to work on personally, I'm just speaking for myself, but I feel like people can probably empathize or identify with, is the website and your LinkedIn profile and your YouTube and the web impression vehicles out there. They're basically like a 24/7 sales rep for you. That's what you said in your book. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
I can. So I'm going to throw a little pop quiz at you. So, Sarah, did you know that every person on the planet has one favorite radio station? They have one favorite radio station that they want to listen to. By chance, do you know what that radio station is, my friend?
The sound of their own voice, sound of their own name.
Man, you're right there. It's WIIFM. WIIFM is every person's favorite radio station on the planet. What's in it for moi, right? What's in it for me? So when they land on your website, what are they thinking about, right? So I'm an engineer at Boeing. So again, I'm in the manufacturing space. So whatever, your listeners, whether they're retail, service, accounting, healthcare, whatever industry you're in, your soulmate, your ideal buyer, when they land on your social, they land on your website, what are they thinking about? Do they really care about, when somebody lands on my website, do they care about me? Not really, right? Other than my mom, there's not a lot of people that are really worried or thinking about me when they're landing on that website. So in my case, like the example I gave you, the engineer from Boeing, they came in and worked today, and a supervisor, somebody up the food chain came in and said, like, hey, you need to buy these 25 products for the wing of the 747, ready, go. And so, like, they're just thinking, how am I going to accomplish my problem? How am I putting out my fires today? When they land on your website, they're not thinking about you. They're thinking about themselves. So a big thing with the WIFM, I call it the Wi-Fi's. Maybe you pronounce it Wi-Fi's. It's what's in it for your soulmates. What's in it for your soulmates. So there's this awful, terrible, it's just, I can't tell you how bad this disease that's been going around the world for the past few years. Did you know there was like this thing, it's like a pandemic? Did you catch that?
I've been aware.
So it's called the wee syndrome. Are you familiar with the wee syndrome? Have you heard of this, Sarah? It's this terrible, awful disease. I'm a recovering wee culprit. This is what the wee syndrome is. You land on somebody's website, and again, in my world, it's manufacturing. You land on somebody's website and it says, hey, we have great product. We deliver on time. We have wonderful team. We have wonderful services. We've won wonderful awards. Just ask us. We will tell you how great we are. You need to buy from us. The buyer, like if you and I were at a trade show, Sarah, and you came up to me and I'm like, hey, Sarah, I'm the best at e-commerce. I've got my mom's favorite book. If I'm ranting and raving about how great I am, like, you can't get away from me fast enough, right? Well, hopefully we wouldn't do that in person. Why are we doing that on our websites? Why are we doing that with our LinkedIn profile or our social? What we need to do with that WIFM or the Wi-Fi's, what's in it for your soulmates, let's flip the script and talk about them. Talk about how great. Hey, did you lose sleep last night because you're worried about XYZ? Hey,
Mm,
you're not finding those right buyers, those high profile buyers. Well, guess what? On this website, we have your back. We're going to dig into da da da. And I just use the word we, but the goal is, how can you use language like, this, at B2Btail, our goal is to help you, get into the end zone. Our goal is to help you da 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 da. So the point is, like, flip the script, pull your soulmate into the story, and let them see the hero become the hero of that story, and how you can help them move the needle.
okay, I like that. So I have a question there, but to recap, everyone's favorite radio station is With 'em. What's in it for me? That's hysterical, and I'm gonna borrow that. Thank you. I'll give you all the credit. What's in it for your soulmate? With C?
Yep.
Wait, how do I pronounce that one?
Wi-Fi's.
Wi-Fi's.
Wi-Fi's or Wi-Fi's, depending on where you are in the country, right? Wi-Fi's or Wi-Fi's.
I like Wi-Fi's because that's easy to remember. Wi-Fi's. So we got to flip it from With 'em to Wi-Fi's.
Yep.
How do you and avoid wee-wees at all costs?
Avoid the dreaded, awful wee-wee syndrome. It is terrible, terrible syndrome. Yes.
2024 is the year of the anti-wee-wee.
Anti-wee-wee. That's right.
Anti-wee-wee. The no wee-wee zone. And then what would you suggest if people have a wee-wee website?
Yes.
People have a wee-wee website or a wee-wee web presence. And can you give us some tools or like some quick tips on what can we do to start to like flip the script in the Wi-Fi, make it a Wi-Fi website versus a wee-wee website?
I would be honored, my friend Sarah. Are you sitting down for this?
I'm sitting.
Right? You're zero. Okay, you ready? What we love to preach, what we educate, and I try to practice this as myself, and we're doing it right now, right? We're on this podcast. You've been on my live show, like here, and as a matter of fact, I know you've done many workshops. What are all those things what's everything that we're trying to do? Educate.
Right.
The tagline for your listeners is, instead of trying to outspend your competition on marketing, messaging, so on and so forth, we want to stop being the best kept secret. Those mouths don't get fed. However, you know what we want to do? We want to out-teach the competition. We want to out-teach the competition. So on your website, I'll tell you what's one of the most prominent things to do: have a learning center. Have it, whatever product in here. And I hear this all the time. So many, and I probably do this as well. We make a lot of assumptions. Our client, like if you're an accountant, our customers know the tax laws. Our customers know, that taxes are due on April 15th. They don't know. Your customers are busy. They're worried about their family, their kids, college tuition, mortgage, car payments. They're worried about everything but your expertise. That's why they're coming to you. So on your website, if you could just be a fierce, just relentless educator, what a separator, because now you're totally in the Wi-Fi's zone of making it what's in it for your soulmate. Right. Here's a how-to video. Here's tax laws. Here's a guide of what to do in Buffalo, New York. Here, providing that extra value to your customer with no expectations. That's how you avoid that wee-wee syndrome. That's how you make a great first web impression. Just commit to out-teaching the competition.
Ooh, that is. Oh, where's my horn? Hold, please.
Blast the horn.
Okay, cool. So I think about that was really helpful, and I think that's a great easy takeaway is out educate your competition and just always be coming from a place of service and ABAV, always be adding value. Yep. That's really what you're doing with your LinkedIn Live show too. I mean, it seems like obviously you have a lot of very loyal listeners that are coming because they're getting so much education from you. That's something you put on at your expense.
Absolutely. And thank you. And, you're doing the exact same thing right here. Again, I can't thank you enough for this opportunity. I can't thank you enough for coming on our show. And what it does is, like, when I have the show and you've met myself and my co-host, Damon, we kid around.
Great. Yeah.
Two old goofy guys that are just kind of doing our thing. And what we love is, like, we're never the smartest guys in the room. We never want to be the smartest guys in the room, but by hanging out with brilliant folks like yourself it helps elevate like our street cred,
Mhm.
with folks, or tries to, establish that trust. And so now, we have a couple hundred episodes. And so now I have an archive of when I reach out. So here's a perfect example. Again, I'm going to take a page out of your book. I'll reach out to an agency who can open up the door to, how can I make that one relationship that would open up the door to multiple soulmates? I try to get one soulmate at a time. That's great. And it takes a lot of work, but hey, let's be a little bit on the lazy side, right? If I can connect with one agency that would open up the door to like 5, 10, 20, 100 of my ideal customers, my ICPs, my soulmates. So this week I'm talking to a woman. She's in charge of these agencies that I target. She's the director of Connecticut. I don't have any relationships in Connecticut. We've met, we've gone back and forth. I invite her on our live show. I can't wait for her to come on. When we plotted out this whole thing, she's super fired up. She sends me this wonderful note. Now, I'm not calling her, reaching out to her saying, hey, would you buy from me? Would you do business for me? I'm not coming to her with the wee syndrome. I'm making it all about her. I don't know if I'll ever do business with her, but now she's coming on to our show. It elevates more street cred for myself and Damon. And now my genuine, authentic intention is I want to build a relationship with her because I'm passionately trying to help manufacture this e-commerce thing. She targets manufacturers. Maybe something comes out of it. So, did that answer?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I like that we're kind of peeling back the curtain on why we do these things, because it is incredibly time consuming. It is expensive to produce a podcast episode. It takes a lot of time and money, but we do it because of the future. We're planting seeds for the future, whether that's relationship, whether that's education. So obviously it's self-serving because we wouldn't do it, but I love the concept of we're doing it from how can we serve our community, serve our audience, serve our clients, and then use it as a tool, because I already have a couple people that once this interview is done, I'm going to send it to them as a marketing tool. Right. So it's an easy way to add value. Obviously it's different because we're on the show, but it's something that can translate very easily. Hey, I watched this LinkedIn live show. It reminds me of a problem that you were mentioning last week. Check it out. Like being able to not only provide education, but also be consuming, I think is really important too. Like we have to be out there learning so that we can better serve our clients.
I'll tell you with like, again, I'll hammer it home. Like when you came on the show, you look at the tip that you like, I almost feel guilty when people come on our show because like I'm getting free counseling, free guidance, free, a consultation session from like some of the most brilliant people in a space that I'm trying to improve at. So like, I can't put a price tag on the folks that dedicate and volunteer their time to share their expertise. And it's just like, iron sharpens iron. It's just like, I feel like I'm just such a better person week in and week out interviewing these amazing people.
I feel the same. And one hack that I shared in Tony's episode, actually, our mutual friend Tony is how we met. But one of the biggest, coolest things for me this year is reading business books and then knowing I get to talk to the author of the book and ask specific questions. And I would implore anyone who's reading a business book, read it as if you're about to go talk to the author, because I feel like I'm underlining things. I'm understanding how that takeaway can apply to my business.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm retaining things a lot more. It's just so cool. So, and now that's kind of been how I've been reading books, is I've been reading it as if I'm going to talk to the author.
Well, I love that. And again, here's another perfect example. Last weekend, somebody connected with me on LinkedIn from Canada, and the guy was like, "Oh yeah, my business partner or a colleague, they know, apparently they know somebody that knows you." Da da da. I'm like, "Oh yeah, who's that?" Sarah. So like, somehow you and I had a mutual connection with this guy in Canada. You just don't realize how small the world is. And so, I don't know if they caught the show or somehow knew you. And like you said, you just don't know who knows who. And it's just, it's just such a powerful tool of broadcasting this, whether podcast, live stream, so on and so forth. So yeah, I'm all in on this whole strategy.
I'm going to take us on a quick detour, but it's kind of funny and you won't be surprised, but I have like 3 different movies for Christmas movies, 3 different ideas for Christmas movies.
Yeah.
It's random, but I think that they're original. I haven't seen them done before. It doesn't seem that hard to write a Christmas movie. If I'm being honest, there's kind of a formula. So I took a Christmas writing workshop the other day, just because I like to educate myself on different things. And the man who started the workshop, he's the former president of Paramount Pictures, and he was such an interesting guy, totally from an edutainment perspective, like brought in all these different producers and writers and hosted this workshop. And it was so interesting. Now I watch Christmas movies. I'm like, ooh, there's the formula. But I have an idea for a Christmas movie. It involves a certain popular boy band. And I'm telling someone the other day about my Christmas movie idea, and they're like, they were kind of laughing. I was like, I think I could get the boy band because Mike, who was on my podcast, has a direct line to them. I'm going to ask this guy who started the Story Summit to be a guest on the podcast. Like I feel like when you start to learn how to connect the dots, forget if you have a LinkedIn live show, forget if you have a podcast, but when you start to connect the dots, it really feels like the doors of opportunity are limitless.
I couldn't encourage you enough to pursue that dream. I have a dear friend. She's a like Wall Street Journal bestselling author. She's amazing. Her name's Dory Clark. And you know, Dory.
I know of Dory because we have shared connections, but I've never met her.
So I'm friends with Dory. She's writing. She is not writing. She has written and trying to get live a Broadway show. Cool. She has no theater in her background whatsoever. She's just a fierce, consultant, speaker, nationally renowned, so on and so forth. And exactly what you just described. Years ago, she's like, I'm going to do a Broadway play. And she's making it a reality. So I commend you. I applaud you for your idea for a Christmas movie. I can't wait to watch it on the Hallmark channel. And I think that is a brilliant idea. And I almost did do a boy band for my walk-up song. So,
oh my gosh, Baby Shark was the plot twist. I didn't think you were going to go there. You need to tell Dory, you need to tell Dory that she needs to get a good entertainment lawyer and keep her book rights and her movie rights for her play. That's what I learned in the workshop. Nice. So I think that all speaks to like, once you start putting yourself out there in terms of not being resistant to change, anything's possible. And that's in your book. You have like 19 tips to overcome change. I want to just do one of those and then get into another piece in your book. So you have 19 tips for curing the I hate change syndrome.
Yep.
I liked all of them, but I think my favorite was number 9. Dedicate yourself and your team to be in a constant state of continuous improvement.
Nice.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So when you can, was it Peter Deming? I think I'm going to quote him correctly. He says there's two things in life. People hate change. Life changes every day. And I'm totally butchering that whole quote. Like everything changes on a daily basis and people hate and resist change. So if you can, whether you're a solopreneur or whatever your situation is, if you can just like fiercely commit to continuous improvement. I remember years ago when I had my e-commerce business and like social media was just coming out, and I'm on record saying like, man, this Twitter thing is the dumbest thing ever. It's never going to work. Who's going to type 140 characters? I'm sitting in this coffee shop. And so that's, where did I, kudos to me for that one. Right. But what we did at the time is we got on Twitter immediately because I didn't want to lose. I didn't want to get beat out by a competitor because I said no, and I'm going to ignore this new thing called Twitter. And who knows what's going on with Twitter today. Yeah. But so my point is, if you can do that continuous improvement, I have another one on that list is like, find that tough love that accountability partner, or find a tough love consultant who's going to tell you have food in your face, who's going to tell you that you're being resistant or you're being stubborn. If you can have that and important, have reduce the ego, and I'm not great at that, but to reduce the ego to accept that constructive, feedback or improvement. So yeah, I thank you for pointing that out in the book. I appreciate it.
No, that I think I just read a quote recently that reminds me of the point you just made. Is there's a difference between being nice and being kind. And the nice person won't tell you have food on your face, but the kind person will. And that was a nice, that was a kind, it resonated with me because it's hard to be open for feedback. Do you have any tips on kind of dissolving your ego a little bit and being open to that?
Boy, I'm, even at my age, I'm working on it on a daily basis. It's just, I think if you can, without going on a diatribe, the big thing is if you can have a clear, concise goal, you know where you want to get to. And if you can like rally your team, vendors, customers around, like say, perfect example, the show, you want to write this TV show, right? If you can rally every resource around it and whatever you need to do to get there, and then come in. Okay, that's the bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
And this person is being kind enough to tell me I'm doing this wrong, or I'm taking I'm taking like the detour when like they've done it before. I should be going this way, not over here. Right. So it's easier said than done, because we don't, I don't think anybody's intentionally, maybe sabotaging ourselves, but I think if you can just be open-minded and just be laser focused on the goal, that would be a big help to get through that.
That's helpful. Thank you. And the other thing that I loved in your book, and I think that if you're listening, audience, you find a way that this connects to your business and your role. You had said that you need to market your manufacturing facility online like a 5-star resort. And I thought it was brilliant because I've been in the hospitality space. I've always sold like the top tier product, but I'm a firm believer that anyone can deliver a luxury experience, and it doesn't have to be a posh product, and you don't have to have the fanciest voice, So can you dive into what does it mean to market your facility like a 5-star resort?
Well, man, I can't thank you enough for like digging into the book. I appreciate that so much. And so here's the story. And I might have used this example in the book. I had a client, massive manufacturer. Their facility was multiple football fields. And this was like 2013, 14-ish. And it was here in New York, and a gentleman from, I think, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, flew to this facility, took a tour, blown away. They do like massive weldments for like things that go on like on a Navy ship, just big. It's a big deal, right? The gentleman flew in from another states away, came in, took a tour of the facility, blown away, closed a deal, multi $100,000 deal. The guy said on the tour, he goes, I just want to tell you guys, I almost didn't come here. Your website was so bad. I felt like if your website's that bad, what's a facility look like? And that's back to that webpression.
Wow.
Right? So what my preach is again, in my manufacturing space, you could be a 2-person operation and you're working out of your uncle's garage, and it's greasy, it's dirty, it's ugly. But if that Boeing engineer needs that little widget that you have a machine that like nobody else has, and you're cranking out this little widget that I need, that could be like the most posh 5-star Ritz pool and luxury spa, right? That widget that would like help me make bonus for the quarter, or that's going to save my job, or, whatever the case might be. And again, like whatever industry you're in, healthcare, accounting, finance, whatever it is, think about like what your soulmate, what's in it for them, what's music to their ears, what's just like, eye candy to them of like, man, I have a tax code challenge, or I have a legal issue. It could be like the most boring, mundane thing on the planet. But man, when you describe it to me that I understand it and I get it, and I'm going to make money, or I'm going to improve my business, or I'm going to, could be insurance, or providing safety for me, whatever the solution is that you're providing, it's not so much like the visual of the 5-star resort. It's like you're providing me with a 5-star resort experience, because you're showing me that you're dedicated to me. You're dedicated to me improving myself, my life, my family, my business, whatever that case might be. So that's my 5-star resort comparable.
I think that is such an interesting framework and like lens to view everything. Like what, and that could almost be like a guiding light for us is this how a 5-star resort would handle this? Is this how a 5-star business? Maybe that's a way to reframe it. Like, how am I delivering this? What's the experience when somebody attends a workshop? What's the workflow that they get? What are the deliverables they get? Like, I think that how can we deliver this luxury experience no matter what our roles are? And it could be as simple as making sure our proposals don't have spelling errors, or we say thank you and express gratitude. Like, I think that's very cool. I thought it was such a great way to frame the manufacturing experience, and it translates really nicely to other industries.
Absolutely. And again, like, if you and I like say we're going to go to a conference, and like, hey, I'll meet you at this conference. Hey, where are you staying? I'm going to stay at this hotel. And you're a fitness person. Like, hey, what's the gym look like? What's the restaurant look like? What does this like? Like, you want to know those things.
You're creeping on the website to see what this fitness center looks like. Yeah.
Odds are today you probably wouldn't go somewhere without checking it out. So the thing is, if, like in the case that I gave you, like, hey, if you're going to be doing my taxes, like, I like really need to trust you. and I'm going to do my research on the website before I even pick up the phone or email you or reach out to you. So like with the manufacturing situation, what I encourage people, like, it's not easy. And then during COVID, we found out people can't travel.
Right.
But even now that we can travel, it's not easy. It's expensive for me to travel 4 or 5 states. Why don't you bring the facility to me on my phone, so then I can make a buying decision on my phone without having to jump on a plane? And if I'm captivated here, then I'll jump on a plane. But why don't you give me a video of the machinery that you have, of your facility, or maybe of your engineer or your top key employees, or the solutions that you provide? It doesn't take it. It's almost inexcusable because I can do it right here for free.
Right. Right. Oh, that's such a powerful takeaway. And I think that man who shared that feedback with them, saying he almost didn't come, that was a kind man. Gave that piece of feedback, because I'm sure that people think it all the time and they just don't want to say it because they don't want to be rude, but it's not rude if it can help someone's business. And that giving the gift of feedback, that's, I think, a way that we can help reframe that for people. And I also think I don't know if I've told you this, Curt, but I've been working with Forbes Travel Guide, and I will be a featured speaker at their 2024 summit in February. So all of the 5-star hotels from around the world come in and they get their 5-star rating, and I'm presenting a workshop. Thank you. It's called Prospecting on Purpose, Embracing Authenticity and Luxury, because I think that those two words go hand in hand, authentic and luxury, because anytime you're delivering an experience to a guest, you're catering to their authentic self, but the way you do that is with your authentic self. And I think one of my favorite things about you is you're like bursting with authenticity through the computer screen. Like, I know what I see with Curt is what I get. So I'd like to ask you, how does authenticity serve you in your business? And then part 2 to that question is, how would you define authenticity?
Boy, man, that's a great question, Sarah. Boy, without sounding cliche, just like, just truly being yourself, I'm a family man, just had my 25th wedding anniversary, I'm a guy of faith. And so it's like, it's just, being of integrity is just really much more important to me than a lot of other things, and I don't want to sound selfless, we're all here to make a living, we provide for our families, live a good life, so on and so forth. But just, like really being laser focused on being in integrity, doing things just with high ethics. Warren Buffett has the newspaper rule. If you wouldn't want it on the front page of the newspaper, you probably shouldn't be doing it. That's a pretty simple policy. I read that probably when I was in college 100 years ago. And I certainly have not lived up to that, many, many times, made thousands and thousands of mistakes. But I think focusing on that, and I think finding your passion, they say, like, if when you get chills or goosebumps, you're in your zone of, like, this is what you should be, you're in your zone of favor or whatever, right? Of doing what you should be doing. And when you're very passionate and you're just dedicated to connecting people, helping people, you share a great story on, I think you were trying to get your foot in the door and you dropped off, I think, was it a book or a card to, it's just like those real simple things of, like, how authentic you were, of, like, somebody said something to you. I believe it was a book, right? And did you show up with a couple of different books?
I wrote a little thank you card because I read the book, because I like to read. And so I went through my Kindle app in my car. I wasn't even having a meeting with her. I just dropped a card off of her desk. And I said, hey, here's the books I read, I think you'd enjoy. And she had book club that night, and she's like, you saved me. I'm like, okay. It took no money and 30 seconds of time.
Right. But just, like, look how authentic and how thoughtful that was, and I think just being so dedicated, like, you're so dedicated to helping your clients and, the prospecting and, like, your workshops and your podcast and everything that you do. Just when you just come in with just that reckless abandon of, like, throwing caution to wind, you just almost don't, you're like, you're so dedicated to helping other people that you just don't care what they think. I think that might be a decent way to describe authenticity.
Okay. So live in integrity with who you are, and don't be afraid to let people know who you are. Be very focused on passions and how that shines through, what lights you up, what fills up your cup, because that's how your authentic self is going to shine through. And then just continue to be so laser focused on that you don't care about what other people think. And that kind of helps with the ego thing we were talking about earlier. Like, I'm so focused on serving and helping my clients. I'm not saying but
Yeah,
we,
yeah,
us
yeah,
collectively.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
no we here. I'm trying not to, but
That's right. I know it's hard to do, but
so
but
no
you're
we zone. Yeah.
and how would you describe authenticity?
I I'm kicking myself for asking you that because now you threw it back at me. But I think one of the things that I really like about embracing authenticity is that when we're our authentic selves,
Yeah,
it gives other people to be their authentic selves.
yeah,
And I think that that's where real confidence lies, is like, I'm confident enough to show up as this is who I am.
yeah,
And what I've noticed, and it's been pretty much my whole life, I've noticed this, is when you're just your authentic self, people show you who they are too. And I can't tell you how many high profile leaders, important people have just really opened up to me because and it doesn't have to be in a vulnerable way or an open way, but they know what they see is what they get. And it's like establishes this area of safety. There's no fakeness there. And so I think being authentic really is being comfortable and confident in who you are, because that's going to open the doors for other people to be comfortable with you.
yeah. And you make it look very easy, and it's very natural.
Thank you.
You're
But it's taking practice, so it's, and that's what we do. And we put ourselves out there. And I feel so grateful that this journey has led me to people like yourself. I feel so happy to know you and to have shared friends in common. One day we're going to meet in person,
right.
Go to Niagara Falls together.
Right.
Before we wrap up, I want to ask, is there anything else that we didn't talk about that you'd like to leave the audience with?
Gratitude. Just gratitude, and just again, I don't mean to be gushing over the top, but we're sharing a lot of praise to each other, and again, honored to be here with you today. So grateful for our friendship. But I think we talked about focusing on others. We kid around about the wee syndrome and like your soulmate and all that, those other things. And I guess this is more like for myself than maybe even for your audience. When I find that I'm just completely committed and in the zone of gratitude, it's almost impossible to be in a bad mood. It's almost impossible to have like fear creep in, or doubts, or insecurity. Yeah, and not to go super deep or psychological or all that other stuff, but I just want to leave everybody with, boy, if you could just relentlessly focus on being in gratitude of what you have, your blessings, your gifts, your talents, what you've provided, family, friends, health, just the little things that we take for granted, that I've taken for granted for decades. And so my big thing would be gratitude.
Thank you for sharing that. That was very powerful. I was going to do a ham horn on you, but it felt too real.
Oh, the hand.
I got it for you, just for you. I'm waving a little hand. This show's on YouTube now, if you guys want to see how silly we're being. Well, how can people find you if they want to work together?
Yeah. B2Btail. So B, the letter B is in boy. So B, number 2, B-Tail, Tail. Or just find Curt Anderson, goofy guy, on LinkedIn. And I would be honored, privileged to connect with anybody. And again, Sarah, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you. And just what a great time this was.
We will put all of your website information in the show notes. And I want to thank you too, Curt. Thank you so much for being on Prospecting on Purpose. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.